Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the event that actually happened. Okay, in this apartment, approximately a little over 2 years ago. Um, you're only gonna be able to hear what I remember. There's a lot of things that I don't remember because I don't know. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was over the span of a few hours, of which this happened. So there I was, moved in here. Not a very nice place. I had to do a lot of cleaning, but I mean, whatever. You move into a place, it's kind of normal. Anyways, so I'm sleeping, right? Average night. I got a single bed that I'm sleeping on. There's nothing. I had nothing that in here whatsoever. Like all my stuff was not here. I didn't really have much stuff to begin with. There was that two drawer dresser mirror, a single bed, and a table in my bedroom. And so, anyways, whatever. So I'm sleeping. Next thing you know, I'm like being rolled out of my bed. I don't fall out of bed. I was completely sober. I used to smoke marijuana. I recently slowed down quite a bit. Barely even smoke it. If I smoke it, it's a joint. Don't mind eating edibles, but I get extremely paranoid now. Anyways, so basically sober. I don't even think I had any weed that night. I can't remember. Anyways, so yeah, I'm sleeping. I get rolled out of bed. And I'm like waking up to being like rolling, like not uncontrollably being rolled out of fucking bed, and there's nothing around me, and I'm land on the floor, and I'm like on my knees on the floor beside the bed, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like I was sleeping, and then all of a sudden there is this voice, and it was emanating from right up around that area of the bedroom. And it simply exclaims to me, "Why is it always you?" And I'm looking up like, I'm like, "What? What do you mean always me?" Look, you are living in a simulated reality. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, that's right. And he goes, your world was destroyed. You seen it as a child. And I was like, what? I'm like running through my life at this point, like a snap of a fucking fingers, and I'm like, the dream I had when I was a child. And he goes, that was no dream. That was your reality, my child. And I was like, holy shit. I've seen the end of the fucking world. It's gone already. You're living in a simulated reality. And I'm like, this is fucked up. And he's just like, you're our favorite. And I'm like, really? Favorite? Like, you're the fastest. I'm like, really? Fast favorite and the fastest? And, this happened in your life, and you got two souls. I was like, two fucking souls. Right on. This is starting to sound pretty cool. And he goes, remember that time you flew an airplane into a building in the video game? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I remember that time. He's like, yeah, you split reality into five. I'm like, that's some heavy shit, dude. That's some, I don't. And he's like, oh, and then he proceeds and telling me some more stuff, and he's like, no, what do you want to play? You want to play with Matrix, or do you? And then he offers me three other options. Which one do you want to play? And I kind of landed on Matrix, and I was like, that sounds like fun. Anyways, and then I was like, oh, this is amazing, and then all of a sudden, from behind me, boom, four more voices begin. Well, one at a time, obviously. They didn't talk over each other, but and they asked my permission for a certain few things. We had to come to some agreeable terms, obligational verbal contract, so to speak, and yeah, they got everything they needed from me. I mean, I don't really want to go into detail. I wouldn't want to freak you out with those details if this isn't gonna freak you out enough already. Because I mean, even if you watch this, you'd probably be like, I don't believe it. But I mean, like, whatever, dude. Dudes and dudettes and everyone in between, the non-dudes and the non-dudettes, and whatever. But I mean, yeah. I get all these, oh yeah, the figure and all that stuff, and then I'm sitting there, and they're like, oh, and then back to the first voice, and he's talking to me again, and he's like, this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, yeah, all right, this is cool, and then I hear this engine driving around, I'm like, he's like, I was like, is that him? And he's like, yeah, he doesn't like you, and I'm like, why? He's like, well, he blames you for the death of mother, and I'm like, well, that's kind of messed up. I was a child at the end of the world. Blame me for the death of mother, right? Huh. I'm like, well, and then I started to get really uneasy, right? I get this really uneasy feeling. And he could sense it. He says to me, he's like, oh, go ahead. And I'm like, what? He's like, go ahead and scream. Scream all you want. You're in a bubble. No one can hear you. No one's ever going to hear you scream as loud as you want. And I'm just like, well, no point in fucking screaming, right? No fucking point. And I'm like, and then I get this uneasy feeling like I'm gonna be shot, and I'm like holding my genitals. I'm like, I'm gonna get shot in the dick. This isn't gonna be nice. And for some reason, it just felt like there was a sniper rifle aimed at my cock, and I'm like dropping on the floor, and I'm like in the fetal position, hiding behind the fucking dresser. It's not very big, right? It's like an average fucking shit, and end table size dresser nightstand type thing, and I'm just like, I'm like this isn't working. And then eventually I'm just standing up. I got both hands over my dick, and I'm like I'm in an old house. The walls are pretty thick, but I'm still just like, man, my dick's I'm gonna get killed up in this bitch. And that's what it was like. And then like some more talking and yada yada yada, and then it just goes, and it's over. And you can hear birds now. You can hear all kinds of things, and it's daylight. And I'm like, it was dark when this happened. Like, yeah. And then it was bright outside. Like, and then that's when it's fucked up. And and so one thing he told me too. He's like, your dreams. This is what your dreams are. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we take you out. And we have lots of fun with you. So I've been having lots of sex dreams, lots of movie type dreams, and lots of in-between dreams. I just posted a video about dreams. I did have a dream where it was like this ultra graphic episode of the television show Supernatural, starring yours truly, of course. Yeah. I had one where I never even knew the TV show Lucifer existed until I watched it after this event happened, and I was like, well, this is weird, this is strange, right? And then I had a dream where he was burying a body for me, which was weird as well. Yeah. But I mean, I'll post this. Probably no one will really see it. I mean, I don't really expect much from it, but I mean, like, I go through this every day. I rather enjoy it, but I mean, like, at the end of it, I exclaimed, that was better than any drug I've ever been on. And I've done a few drugs, so what? But I mean, there you go. Apparently I'm amazing. Oh yeah, and I did see my first zero in this very apartment. I was drinking, and I was bitching about things. I'm like bitching about current events and all this shit. And then I come over, I step over here, and right there in between like the bag and the curtain was a zero. Just like in the movie The Matrix. Just sitting there. And just right about the bag height, maybe a bit higher, maybe about where my eyes are. I'm about 6'4", 6'3.5". And I was like, there's gotta be something wrong with my eyes. So I step back into the kitchen, take a look over by the fridge. There's nothing there. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? And then I turn back to the bedroom. There it is, sitting there. And then it falls perfectly vertical to the floor. And I know this is, and I get it. Like, people like, this is nuts, but I mean, like, Elon Musk said, "Hey man, we're gonna find out soon if we're living in a simulated reality." The church goes, "Hey man, we're gonna find out if gods exist." Well, they said God, but I mean, like, gods is more appropriate term. For there are more than one, because he did not say you are my favorite. He said you are our favorite, the fastest. So yeah, and so I started seeing this girl, right? It was brief, like really brief. I mean, I wanted it to go further, but I don't know, whatever. Sorry, woman. Roughly my age, a couple years younger than me. But one morning, instead of messaging her, I just went for a drive, right? And as I'm driving, this woman, oncoming traffic, going against me. I'm headed west. She's headed east. And the only reason I even noticed her was because her head was like cocked over the side, looking at me like, "Hey, do you see me?" and guess who she looked like? None other than the character from the movie The Matrix, Trinity herself, And I was like fully amazed, and I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" Pretty wild. And again, I told my coworkers a lot of this stuff, and they just laugh, and they're just having. They're like, "Oh, Trevor, he's Matrix boy. He's everything's simulated reality with this guy." But I mean, like, I really just wish, there was somebody to talk to about this kind of shit. But it gets so fucking wild. And then I watched the new Matrix movie, and I'm like, well, I already kind of went through a bunch of that shit. Like, and I'm like, this is fucked up, dude. Like, after the event happened, I was currently in counseling, and maybe this isn't the right way to do it. Maybe I should just live it. Should I do that? But yeah, I was in counseling. I'll just do it, and then maybe I'll do it again. I do this all the time, just because like I like going through it. It's my storyline. It's my. So I'm in counseling. They put me on medication because I freak out. I need to be medicated, and then like nothing's happening, and I'm just like, oh, it's a simulated reality. I'm like all slowed down and fucking dull. And then I stopped taking medication. And then this is where fucking people be like, "Oh, you're fucking schizophrenic, fucking psychopath. It's not on his medication, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, no, that's not even it at all. I could never create something like this. Like, this is like, it just happened to me, right? And like all this crazy stuff is happening, and I see the movie. I didn't even know there was a new movie, right? Because this happened, like I said, 2 fucking years ago, 2020, after I moved into this apartment. And then there's a fucking movie, and I'm like, motherfucker! And I'm like watching the first time I watched the movie, I could only get through to like the very first coffee scene at the shop, but like where it like pans down to the glass, and he's an old man, but he's him, and then with her, she's a blonde-haired woman, even though her hair's brown and or black or whatever, and right, and you know how Hollywood likes to put messages in the movies. BTW, my initials are TW. I know, right? And people be like, "That's far-fetching." But they're like, "Oh, well, there's always one." I'd be like, well, you know what? You find your best hacker buddy who knows hacker people, who is the best hacker in the world. This is basically an open challenge to the best hacker in the world. Facebook already told me through an advertisement that every single thing that I say is recorded on a database. It popped up, and I wasn't even online. It popped up right on my phone. What if everything you said is going to a database and corporations can hear it and do whatever they want with it after that point, including refusing to hire you? I'm like, I don't fucking care. You tell those trash bags they're all a fucking bunch of cocksuckers anyways, because I don't give a shit. Anyways, so open challenge to the best hackers to find my audio logs and see if they can bring up the conversation. Because if they could, they would be able to tell you and the rest of the world what the other three options were. And they'd be able to tell you a lot more about the conversation from the other four. And the only thing I'm willing to say is the other four, out of those four, one of them was a female. Interesting.